Ooh, it booky, mama.
Look we have the flashing LED lights. It's cute.
Oh, it's like a rave in here.
Hey, remember that time I shit my pants?
Huh?
Well, hello.
Hello there.
And hello to all you listeners. Welcome to episode 3. I had to think about that for a very quick second.
Of Isn't That Odd podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Paul.
And I'm Breana.
And today we have some great stories for you, as we always do. Coming at you at a different time, not that you would know. But earlier this week, I got sick. I was a little sicky boy. So we couldn't record on usual day. So we had to move it, and so we're doing it at night. And so it adds to the spookiness. So maybe this will be a really good episode for us.
Yeah, you can't see it, but Paul set the move. We got some blinky lights in here. It's like a little rave with no rave music.
Yeah, I have those like TikTok LED lights that I put around my desk, behind my desk, I should say.
Because he's a hashtag gamer boy.
Yeah. So I have those and just going through all the colors now, and it's really cute. So especially after the first 2 episodes, I've certainly become aware of some things. First off, my mic is a lot farther away than it was in the first 2, so that way I'm not overpowered. Secondly, if the word "stan" from me comes out of my mouth today, this episode is canceled. And if Breana shouts out anybody, I'm going to slice her toe off. So that's where we are.
Also, wait, Paul, do you use Reddit or do you not use Reddit? Because you said, I don't use Reddit, and then said you follow Reddit.
So, clarify on that, because I know that's a hot topic everyone's asking about. No one's asking about it. But,
trying not to laugh into the mic so I don't deafen people with my fucking banshee of a laugh.
yeah, let's not do that. But I actively have Reddit downloaded, and I've figured out how to use it to the extent of like following things like creepypasta that I mentioned in episode 2. But I don't, beyond just kind of scrolling like I would on like Twitter, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to do posts. I don't know how to repost. I don't know the overall like what it is.
Yeah, you should ask Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy is actually our boss who got. Shout out to him.
Oh,
you can't say it, but I can.
We stand Jimmy.
Yeah. See, we just swapped. That's how we get past it. Shout out to him because he got a little butthurt that I called out another manager. He's like, "Ooh, this is my turn," and then he realized it wasn't. And the only shout out he got was being called a dickhead. So.
Yeah. Also, hi, Mom.
So we said no shout outs. Yeah, you're still shouting.
I didn't say shout out. I just said hi.
But hi, Mom. Anyways.
Yeah, you have to say hi.
Anyway. Mom is basically my new best friend. She just found out right now. So today, since I went first in episode 2, it's going to be Brianna's turn to go first. And what do you have for us today?
Today I have a true crime story.
Ooh, and today I got some conspiracy coming at you.
Wait, some conspiracy.
It's funny because I wanted to do that. In my head was just like, it's not really working.
Oh, I thought you were talking about when we were like naming the podcast because we kept saying conspiracy, but I'm pretty sure there's already a podcast.
No. Actually, great topic to start with. That was my idea for a name, and you hated it.
Because I think it was already somebody's name.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, I think it was already somebody's name.
Oh.
And if not,
no. You just hated it. You were just like, oh, you're so stupid.
Well, I think it's because we were doing more than just one topic. I think we should went by like conspiracy. People think we were just doing conspiracy theories.
I guess. You're correct. I'll give it to you this time. We're very
inclusive here, so we do everything.
Yeah. So, without further ado, I will turn the conversation over to you, and you have the main mic. The floor is now yours for your true crime.
So, my story today, Paul, is going to be going on a throwback to episode 2, since we've already talked about it. Do you remember when I gave you that little snippet of a story about a woman who got disemboweled?
Yes.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
You're giving me this story?
Yes.
I didn't think you'd give it to me so soon.
Yes. Yeah. So soon. Just... I'm crying.
Because I do remember the story, and I remember you telling me about it, and then I really wanted to know more because I remember you saying she got stabbed like so many times, and her shit was just out, and her head was like hanging off on a limb. So interested to hear about that and how it all happened and transpired. So, I mean, I'll call back to episode... What episode was it? 2. We'll call back to episode... 2? No.
It was episode 2. I talked about in episode 2 with Slenderman.
Oh, yeah. So call back to episode 2 if you haven't heard that. Go hear that. Go listen to that. And come back.
Yeah, and we'll be here. But anyway, so I need to start off today's story with a trigger warning. Today's story is an extremely graphic and gruesome and contains elements of sexual assault. With that being said, the story needs to be told, though, because Alison Botha is a survivor, and her story deserves to be told. My source for today's story is going to be the documentary Alison on Amazon Prime, strictly just because my whole story today comes from that, because she basically was a narrator of it, and who is better to get the story from than the horse's mouth, you know?
Now, fun little question to maybe expose. Did you watch said documentary and take notes? Or
I watched the whole thing
did you get like a spark notes of the documentary?
I watched the whole thing and took notes, and my stomach hurt afterwards.
I'm proud of you.
Why are you saying that like I don't watch documentaries all the time?
No, I know. I'm just saying I'm proud of you because...
you would have just looked at the
upcoming story that I already have planned out. There was like a documentary thing I could have watched on it, and I was like, I just don't feel like it. So that's why I'm saying I'm truly proud of you, because I just couldn't be bothered.
I thought you were talking shit. I already went on the defensive. I was like, listen, motherfucker.
No, I was giving you props.
Okay.
For once.
So Alison Botha was born on September 22nd, 1967. She grew up in Port Elizabeth, which is in South Africa, with her mother and brother, because her parents divorced when she was only 10 years old. After she graduated high school, she spent 4 years overseas exploring different places before deciding to head back to Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Okay, so our story today takes place on the evening of December 16th, 1994. Was that the year you were born?
Yeah, I was born. You said December 16th?
Mm-hmm, of 1994.
I was born for 3 months. I was 3 months old at that point.
Well, it's gonna get. So Alison had some friends over to her place, and they ordered some pizza and just had a good time, you know, like any average young adult would, just hang out. After the evening was over, she offered to bring her friend home because she had some laundry to do at her place. You know how it is, like when you're a young adult and your place doesn't have like laundry in the unit and you don't want to like pay for it, so you just do it at a friend's house. So that's what she did. So you're like, why not kill two birds with one stone? Bring her friend home, pick up her laundry, you know?
Yeah.
Do the do. Living in a college area, when she returned back later that night, her usual parking spot was taken. So you know how it is also in those kind of neighborhoods. It's like if you're gone, your spot's taken. No matter what. Like you leave, it's gone.
I mean, that's how it was at the apartment we lived at before we bought the house.
Yeah.
Because we shared apartment. So we had a few friends that we lived with because it was a huge apartment. And I mean, we split the rent, so it was just really cheap and it worked out. It was a really nice place. But with that, we only got 2 parking passes per room, well, per unit. Mm-hmm. And so there was 4 of us, 4 cars. So 2 got to park in the nice little, what are they called? Resident parking. There we go. So 2 got to park there, and then 2 just had to go in the guest parking, which was like on the main street of the apartment complex. Mm-hmm. And it was just...
hell.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to park further down than she normally would have. As she turned in her car to get her laundry out, she felt a knife at her throat and a voice that told her, move over or else I'm going to kill you. Allison says the reason that she didn't jump out of the car at this point was because, quote, I didn't believe in the worst, so I chose to believe in the best. Her abductor then takes off down the road. And so as they're driving down the road, he keeps telling her how much he doesn't want to hurt her and how much he just wants to use her car for about an hour just because he's an errand to run, you know. He tells her during that little drive that his name is Clinton. And then he asked Allison if she has a boyfriend. She says this question gave her like a false sense of security. I'm assuming because like, you know that kind of thing where it's like, if a woman is taken, then all of a sudden another guy is going to be like, oh, whatever, she's off limits, you know? Mm-hmm. I think that's what she thought. But that unfortunately isn't the case.
The person in me, if I was in a situation like that, I mean, granted, I can say it easily now because I'm not in that situation, so my adrenaline's not going or anything like that. But,
also, you're a man, too. So.
And I'm a man, yeah. But if someone's like, you got a boyfriend, I'd probably be the one to be like, no, but how about, like try to hit on them and flirt with them.
Where's your
and be like,
boyfriend
no,
at?
not
Where's
yet.
your boyfriend?
Yeah.
You getting you Mike and Ike's? You like Mike and Ike's?
But yeah, he's like, you got a boyfriend? And I'd be like, not yet. And like, look at him and wink at him and see if he like bites, because then he won't kill you, right?
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that Mad
Yeah.
TV? Okay.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're referring
yeah.
to. Can I get your number? Can I have it? Can I have it?
Work that up, dude. All right. Anyway, so that gave her a false sense of security. He then pulled over to the side of the road and stopped the car, and another man got in the back seat. She later finds out that this man's name is Tanis. Alison says that she remembers looking in their rearview mirror and catching his eyes. And she says, that's when my relief just turned into sheer fear, because all I saw was cold, dead evil. She says that this is the moment that it dawned on her that she would not be making it home. They drove and drove until there was no streetlights and it was just darkness. He stopped at a secluded beach-like area, so kind of just like where like the shrub is kind of really high, but there's still beach. It's like when you're just about getting on the beach, like kind of like near the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Clinton then turns the car off and he says to Alison, "Are you going to fight?" In the documentary, she says that she was thinking to herself, like, am I going to fight? Do I even know how to fight if I'm gonna fight?
Especially with two men.
Exactly. So she didn't fight. Tanis then gets out of the car, and Clinton then forces Alison to have oral sex with him. And then he proceeds to rape her, saying things like, quote, "Does your boyfriend do this to you? Quote, do you like that? You've got the nicest tasting fanny."
Oh.
So this takes place in another country.
So he ate her butt.
No, fanny in another country is like the vagina.
Oh.
Yes.
I was like, damn. He was really wanting it so
No.
bad he ate her butt.
No. And she describes her body reacting naturally to this, as the ultimate betrayal. Tanis, during all of it, like after this is over, after she's raped, he walks back over to the car and calls Clinton by his real name, Franz. Alison then realizes, obviously, that Clinton lied and that's not his real name.
Mm-hmm.
Franz then says to Tanis, quote, "Do you also want to have sex with a lovely lady?" And Tanis responds, "No, I want to fuck the bitch." Franz says, "You can't talk to her like that. She's a lady. You must speak to her properly." Says the man who just raped her, who just forced her to do these degrading things, saying all these things to her about, oh, do you like it? Does your boyfriend do this to you? And now he's saying that you have to talk to her like a lady.
Yeah, I was going to make that, as you were saying, when you said the other guy, I was like, no, I'm going to fuck that bitch. I was like, damn, he's not even whatever. He's just degrading her already. And it was just like, you're nothing to me but meat, essentially. And this other man is now saying, you have to be proper and primp. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So, Franz gets out of the car and Tanis gets into the car with Alison and then starts choking her and she blacks out. So, an undisclosed amount of time passes. And when Alison regains consciousness, she opens her eyes and sees them cutting her with a knife. They stabbed her 37 times in the abdomen and pubic area. Tanis was the first to cut her throat, and then Franz pushed him out of the way and continued stabbing her. So you must speak to her like a lady, but also move, because I want to stab her. So it's... Yeah. You wanted to hear the story.
I know. It's just... I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this.
Yeah. She describes how she sees the moon behind Franz's head as he's stabbing her, and how it ironically gave him a halo. She says that in the documentary, and that kind of made me cry when I was watching it. He slashes her throat 17 times, and he was basically just sawing back and forth. I know.
No one can see, but I'm very physically uncomfortable and just like squirming.
Yeah. I recommend watching this documentary because it was very powerful.
Don't tell me they show any of that.
They do reenactments.
Oh.
But it made me cry. It was really powerful. I do recommend watching it. Anyway, so after basically trying to sever her head, they just left her there. They got up, walked back to her car, threw her laundry out of the car, and just drove away. She couldn't feel the extent of her injuries, but she could hear her labored breathing. She realized through hearing this breathing that her windpipe was severed. She describes an overwhelming feeling of sadness when she finally realizes that she was going to die. She then describes having an out-of-body experience, saying that she literally left her body. She says that she sees herself laying there, naked, beaten, and barely hanging on, and knew that she could just be done. She could give up and die, or she could choose to fight. She chose to fight. She wanted to live, and she wanted a chance to live a better life. So she's decided to live, and now she's back in her body. And her first thought was making sure that her attackers would never do this to another woman. So she reaches over and writes their names into the sand. Below that, she writes the one thing that she really wants to say before she dies. In the sand, she also writes, quote, "I love Mom."
Oh.
So she's bleeding out. Her windpipe is severed. And all she's thinking about is, they can't get away with this. And I just want my mom to know how much I love her.
That's so sad. But at the same point, I mean, granted, she knows one of their true names now, but
Both of their
I feel like that's also very tough too. I mean, A+ for her even thinking to do that, because I most likely definitely wouldn't. I'd be like, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, just that's
Yep.
it. Go ahead.
I wouldn't have not chosen to fight.
I would have had that out of body what? I would have had that out of body experience and just stayed out of body and just be like, that's it.
Honestly. So, after she writes that in the sand, she feels something wet between her legs and quickly realizes it is her intestines.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say she peed her pants.
Outside of her body, they disemboweled her. And you know how much I hate disemboweling.
Yeah, we know
Which
all
is
about it.
Funny, because I've talked about it twice now, and I'm rereading my favorite book series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and they mention disemboweling at least 3 times. I've never noticed it before. And now I just feel like I can't escape it. So
that's just like just like my car, when I got my car, I just see it everywhere now.
Yeah.
It's like once you focus on one thing, that's all you see.
Yep. So she reaches and grabs her nearby denim shirt that she was wearing and uses that to hold her organs back inside of her body with one hand and starts crawling with the other. She needs to get somewhere where she can be found, basically. So she doesn't want to stay on the beach. She wants to get somewhere where she can be found.
Sorry, you looked at me really weird. I'm just squirming in my seat because I'm just picturing it all. And
I thought you were laughing. I was like, what?
No, there's not a single thing funny. No.
I was like, why are you laughing?
I'm not that fucking... No. I'm just it's a lot. I have essentially just like picturing it, the scenario in my head as you're talking about it. And just like, what could this look like? And it's just...
It's not pretty,
especially with all the horror movies I've seen and like all the special I
know.
No.
So she realizes by crawling that she's getting nowhere, and she's getting weaker by the second. She says in the documentary, quote, "I just had to do better." And so she does better, and she manages to stand up. And when she does, everything goes black. She then puts her hand up to her throat and is basically inside of her neck. I know. So they severed the muscle on the side of her neck that helps you hold your head up. You can't see it, but Paul is just absolutely disgusted. So that's why he's not saying anything. So the reason that she was just seeing black was because her head had fallen back between her shoulder blades. And the black she was seeing, it was the night sky. So if you put your head all the way back, it stops at some point, but hers just kept going back, and it was just hanging there, and she was just looking up.
So was she like looking at the beach behind her?
No, it was back, and she was like this.
So it was still pointed at the sky?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It wasn't just like, okay,
yeah.
I got it.
She was seeing black, and the black she was seeing was the night sky.
Got it.
So she has one hand on the shirt holding her organs in, and now she takes her free hand and holds her head upright with it, and walks. She then walks straight to the road. And she describes this feeling as if someone else was moving her feet to get there. She doesn't really remember moving her own feet to get there. But when she reaches the road, she just drops right in the middle of it. And she says again in the documentary, "What's the worst that can happen? Is somebody going to run me over?" And she kind of like chuckles when she says it. Which like, it gave me chills.
Right, because to her, it's just kind of like
it's already as bad as it can be.
Yeah. If anything, her getting run over is... I don't want to say best case scenario, because clearly the best case scenario happened, but to her, she's just like, it's either this works or it's just, it's so...
You're at a loss for words, huh?
Yeah, it's And I know I wanted to know the story, absolutely, because I was so intrigued when you talked about it before. And I'm getting exactly what I wanted, but it's, when I hear it all laid out like this, it's a lot to fucking process.
Yeah, I know. That's why when you were like, no, tell me, I was like, this is a story for another time, because
we both worked all day. I just wasn't, I was just like, oh, it'll be some, shoot 'em up, probably some sort of murder, like whatever. I just wasn't expecting this, and I just wasn't mentally prepared. So I'm just like trying to also just bring my mind to a level where I'm accept this newfound knowledge without kicking you in the shin like I just did.
Well, don't do what I did last week. I checked out during your story, so don't check out during my story.
I can't.
It's gonna get better.
Mentally checked out. I can't check out.
Well, don't do it. Just don't. Okay.
I'm too invested, especially with the shock factor that's going on. I am just one of those. That's why I like horror so much, is because when I get stuff that scares me or just like mortifies me like this, I'm just like,
this is the worst kind of stuff for me.
Yeah,
this is the worst kind of stuff for me, though, when it's like real life, like this actually happened, which is insane.
And that's what makes it even more fucked up for me, and that's why I'm like, I need to know, because this isn't just a movie where someone's mind is just making shit up. Like this happened.
Yeah. Okay, so a car does come. Okay, she's laying in the middle of the road, and a car does come. When it's getting closer, that's when the panic starts setting in. Because what if it's Franz and Tiana's in that car? What if they came back to make sure that they killed her? And if they didn't kill her, to finish their job? She has no more fight left in her. So she just looks at the car and just lays there. The car sits there, headlights shining in her face, and then just pulls off. It just pulls right around her and leaves. It just leaves her there, laying in the road.
So, let me get this straight. This car comes around the bend, sees this person in the middle of the road, and it's just like...
Sat there for a
That's
second.
a whole person.
Yeah.
What should I do? Just scoots around and just goes. So they quite literally saw a dead body and was like, not my issue.
Yeah.
I can get that if it's like a deer or like an animal, because it's just like someone will come get it eventually. But that's a whole ass fucking human.
They quite literally were like, not my circus, not my monkeys, and just left.
That's a whole ass human. They didn't even call 911. Did they call 911? I mean,
No.
I'm sure we'll... But if I saw a mutilated body like that, I don't know if I would physically go up to it. I mean, I might, and just see if there's any sort of life, but I would at least call the police and be like, hi, this is where I am. This is too much for me. I gotta go. Or I'll just, wait here for you. But, that makes me angry.
Well, shut up, and I'll tell you.
All right,
someone does find her. So another car approaches, and in this car is a 20-year-old veterinary tech student, and his name is Tien. And he's on holiday with some friends. And holiday is on vacation. It's a different country, so different lingo, but they're on vacation.
Also, of course, this is vet tech. All the vet techs I know are the best people ever. I'm going to be like a Breana and be like, shout out Zach, shout out Nicole, shout out all the vet techs I know.
Shout out to all those people. I don't know you, but you're amazing.
You know Zach?
Oh, I didn't hear you say Zach. Hi, Zach.
Anyways.
He describes seeing her laying in the road naked as, quote, something you'll never forget in your life. He took her hand, and he just looked her in the eyes, and he's like, you've got the best eyes.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Maybe I complimented him too soon. He found her and just looked at her and be like, damn, mama, your throat slit, but also your eyes?
Well, I think it was because he comes up to her, he sees her laying there, he sees the extent, and she's like, not completely conscious, but she's reacting to this person coming up to her. Like, she's groaning, she's moaning. So he grabs her hand, and I think he just says that just to let her know that someone's there. And just to, like, pull her out of whatever she's in. Because if you're going through something and someone's like, damn, babe, like, you'd be like, hold on, wait, what? So I think that was his mindset.
I can just imagine me in that position, and then he says that, and I'm just like, that's all you have to say is I got nice eyes? Like,
and I think he just kind of said it because he's like, oh, this woman is sitting here almost dead.
Just to kind of like comfort her.
And she does have nice eyes. So, I think it was just like that. And so luckily, one of his friends had a cell phone, which is insane because, again, this takes place in 1994, and that was new technology at the time. They called the police, and they dispatched an ambulance.
Oh. Sorry. Another tangent. I forgot it was in 1994. So that, I guess, can not even really excuse depending on what maybe they went for help after, but I was like, why didn't you just call 911 right there? But it's like also no cell phones. Okay.
I didn't even think about that. You're right. I didn't think about that.
So, not that necessarily excuse the first person, but also they could have drove somewhere, found help, and we might not have known.
Yeah.
So, whoever the first person was, if you're listening, you're not sorry.
So, from where they were, the hospital was about 15 minutes away. So, they waited the 15 minutes. And then they waited 20. And then they waited 30. And then they waited 40 minutes. And then help finally arrived. I know. So I think Paul's shaking his head right now. So they called for help, and it's supposedly the hospital was 15 minutes away, so it should have taken the ambulance 15 minutes. It took 40. And I think it was because when the person called, they were probably like, oh, my, like, explain the situation, and they were probably just like, oh, it's not urgent, and they just took their time. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know what the other reason would be.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you were to call and be like, all right, this is a person with a lot of stab wounds, a lot of blood, their head is basically unattached. What should we do?
Yeah.
And the baking, well, we'll send someone, because I could see them being like, there's no chance this person's living. Because that's exactly my reaction when you first talked about the story. I was like, there's no way she lived. And you're like, she did. And I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So they loaded Alison into the ambulance. Tien going along, still holding her hand. And they're driving to the hospital, and they're just not going fast enough for him. So he's in the back, and he's like, can you drive faster? Like, this situation's going on. Like, she needs help. And they just didn't see the need and urgency. They already decided she wasn't going to make it, so why would they rush?
That explains why they showed up 40 minutes later.
Yep. So now they're at the hospital, and then he finally lets go of her hand at the hospital. From the abduction to arriving at the hospital was only 90 minutes. So from her getting back to her place, grabbing her laundry, getting abducted, to being assaulted, brutally attacked, and then found was only 90 minutes.
That's crazy, because this recording has only been going on for 20 minutes maybe, and I felt like it was just hours. Like, this story was just, like, taking place over an hour.
No,
and it's only an hour and a half.
Tien says that this night changed everything about how he wanted his life to go. He decides at this moment that he's going to become a doctor because he wants to help people. So at the hospital, her doctor realizes that the reason that she's still able to breathe is because she's breathing through the hole in her neck. So usually when people get neck wounds, like, they gurgle, they really can't breathe, they choke on their own blood, basically. But she was breathing strictly through the hole in her neck. So it's kind of good that they cut her head off as much as they did, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to breathe. I know.
So they cut her too much.
Yeah.
And that essentially saved her life.
Yeah, you'll see. Yeah. They brutalized her, but they did not do a good job of doing it. Let me just say that. Her intestines were contaminated with beach sand and lumps of charcoal. They didn't think she stood a chance of ever having kids. So she's in surgery, and they went through and cleaned every single nook and cranny before putting her intestines back in. And they used, like, a scrub brush to do this. So, like, they're in surgery, her intestines are just, like, sprawled out on the table, and they're just, like, using a scrub
casually
brush.
Scrubbing with the scrub brush.
Well, it's like a gentle scrub brush, like the bristles are soft.
Even still!
Just to get all the debris off so she doesn't get an infection.
I guess.
Her doctor explains if they hit the major arteries in her neck, she would have hemorrhaged and died in 3 to 4 minutes. But they didn't. They didn't hit any of her major arteries. They didn't hit any of the important nerves that connect to her organs either, like, that send information to the brain. They didn't hit any of those either.
Thank goodness these kids were stupid.
Yeah. Her esophagus was also undamaged. The only thing that was truly severed was her trachea. And so I don't know if you know, like, the anatomy of a neck, but, like, right in front of you right here, that's where your trachea is. Like, that's what got cut. And so they didn't cut anything else behind that. So she has a bunch of wounds to her chest, but none of her chest wounds hit any of her, like, lungs or her heart or anything like that. And her disembowelment, surprisingly, did not end in severe infections or anything like that. So even though all of this happened to her, they did it in the right places, so that way nothing truly, like, happened. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just so hard to wrap my head around, just because it's so miraculous.
Also,
it's
before you get into a thought, none of the wounds to her abdomen damaged any internal organs either. So they just quite literally just stabbed at, like, empty space, I would say, or they didn't go deep enough to hit vital organs.
I feel like you couldn't even plan to do that if you wanted to.
Yeah, no, they were just horrible, and thank God that they were horrible at what they were doing. Thank God.
It's like she had an angel watching over her that couldn't stop them from doing it, but instead just guided them to do it in a way that she would live.
Okay. So the police came to the hospital the next day to talk to Alison. And the reason that it took them so long to come to the hospital to talk to her is because when situations happen like that, the doctor will like refuse letting the police come in if they don't think they're up for it. So obviously she's recovering. She just had all the surgery, so they didn't let them in right away. They showed Alison a lineup of pictures. And so at this point, Alison has a breathing tube down her throat. But she was able to pick out pictures of Franz and Tianus in the lineup and write their names down. It was like, those are the people who assaulted me. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the chief prosecutor said that Alison had to verbally say the names, and writing them down wouldn't be enough. Paul is too stunned to speak. I never thought I'd see this.
I don't want to, I mean, I can't say, I don't know laws.
Different country, different laws, yeah.
Right, I don't know laws or anything like that, but you would think at some point, if someone quite literally has their throat slashed and can't physically speak, that there'd be some sort of
leniency, anything.
Yeah. Again, I don't know laws. I'm sure there could be something that's like, no, you have to verbally whatever, but it's just
Yeah, I don't
also
know.
Still got to remember this is 1994,
Yep. So her doctor was nervous for her to take the tube out, like thinking it was too soon. So he explains everything to her, all of his concerns, things that could go wrong, complications, like etc., and asked her what she wanted to do. So he wasn't going to make the decision for her. And Alison took a piece of paper and wrote, "Take it out." She wanted them to take the tube out so she could verbally say who attacked her, because she wanted them to face the music. She wanted them to not be able to do this to anybody else.
She should go off, Queen.
She is amazing. So the tube was removed, and she verbally confirmed that they were her attackers. So all the doctor's concerns, she is just a miracle, because all the doctor's concerns didn't apply to her, and they took the tube out, and she still was breathing on her own.
I mean, even in that case, I feel like I might be inclined to do the same, because it's, God forbid, everything went south if I took it out. If I could at least just say who it was and make sure that doesn't ever happen again, I would just feel fulfilled enough in and of itself.
Yeah, no, I agree. She's just amazing. Like, even telling this story, I'm like getting goosebumps again. You can't see I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but goosebumps again.
I'll believe you.
So throughout the police investigation, it became clear that Franz and Tianus were serial rapists. The other two women that they assaulted, they threatened them and told them not to report it. Obviously, they reported it. Like, why wouldn't they? And so they decided that the next girl that they assaulted, they would also murder. Franz was shocked in his police interview that he was being charged with attempted murder and not actual murder, because they did not think Alison survived that. And I didn't watch the video of it or anything like that, but they talk about it in the documentary. During the interview, he has a ring on and he takes it off, hands it to the investigator, and was like, "Oh, okay, well, I did it, and that ring right there is Alison's." So he just had a trophy, carrying around with it, and there was blood. Her blood was still in the ring.
I wish I could have seen their face when the cop was just like, "You're being charged for attempted murder," and then they're probably just attempted. The shock and pure horror that probably went over their face. I wish I could have seen, because it would have been like, fuck you.
Yeah. Franz and Tianus were charged with rape and attempted murder, obviously, and they both pleaded guilty. They admitted to it. They didn't fight it in court, which I guess is a very good thing. They pleaded guilty, and they received a life sentence, and they are still in prison. So their justice system is a little bit different than ours. I didn't really get into it, but they don't have jury trials. They just have a judge that decides what the sentence is going to be. So they had some kind of trial where they presented the evidence, and then the judge was like, "Okay, they're going to get a life sentence for it." So obviously Alison survived, as I already said before. And Alison is now a motivational speaker, and she travels all over the world, telling people about her story and how she survived. She basically has this mindset of you can push yourself through it, and I think she uses I can either live or die scenario that she talked about earlier. That's what she uses in her motivational speaking. And they talked about how she wouldn't be a mother, or they didn't think she'd be a mother. She is a mother. I didn't want to put any information about her child, because that's not okay to bring like say information about a child. But she is now married and she is a mother.
I love that for her.
And I do have pictures for you right here. So this top picture is going to be Alison, and if you look, you can still see the scar that's on her neck. And then the bottom,
that's a very
and then the bottom picture
scar.
is Francelyn Tienes.
Ugh.
I hope I have a good accent.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. The one Thon's on the right doesn't bother me. Something about France, like just looking at him, just gives me
the creeps.
I'm no.
And
get him away. Get him away from me.
We will have these pictures on our Instagram if you want to go take a look
at isntthatoddpod.
Yes. If you want to go take a look at these sick individuals and the amazing person that is Alison Botha. So that is where my story ends today. I didn't want to get too much into like her attackers. I just wanted to really focus on what Alison went through just because I feel like it's very strong and
she definitely should have the biggest spotlight in the world because I could never imagine being in that situation. And if I ever was, I know I would probably just I just wouldn't. I'd be like, that's fine. And I give her all the
you can't
credit.
even talk.
No, I can't. I just give her all the credit for being like, no, I'm fighting this and I'm gonna have them find you and you're gonna be fucked for life. And honestly,
go off.
Yeah, biggest spotlight award. Give her the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't even care what you just give her everything.
And she's an amazing person. She in the documentary talks about how when she's like recovering in the hospital, people were sending her gifts, obviously, because it was a very big story at the time. And she wanted to thank everybody. She didn't want to leave anybody out, so she put like an ad in the newspaper that basically was like, "Thank you for everybody who sent me gifts. Like I really appreciate it." And she just didn't want to. She wanted to make sure that everybody knew that she was thinking of them, even as they were thinking of her.
She sounds like an absolute gem of a woman.
And she does have a lot of books that are out. She does a lot of motivational speaking. So if you're able to support her, purchase her books, look her up, buy her stuff, give her all the support you can because she's an amazing woman.
I was just about to say, definitely go just buy her stuff.
Yeah. If
she has a PayPal, I'll PayPal her. Does she have Venmo? Does she have Cash App?
Cash App?
I just feel like that's just
cash
so...
Cash out.
That... Well, truthfully, I don't even know.
You don't have anything to say?
No, it's just such a...
Wait, let this go on the record that I've rendered Paul speechless.
Yeah, it's just such a huge...
And you asked for this story specifically.
I know, but I think just hearing it in its full glory, if you will, is just a lot. And there's just no springboards for me because it is so much. And I feel like this is probably how you felt during my story in episode 2. And that's why you shut down. It's just because there's you just get so entranced in the story and you just want to hear it. And you're just like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I don't even want to stop it because that's all I want to hear. It's just, give me the good stuff. I'm done hearing about the slashing. I already know she lives, so tell me about that. Tell me about her afterlife. How's she living now? And I'm glad that she's living great and she's living good and she's living her best life. Honestly, probably her best life now.
Yeah, before I close out my story, I just wanted to give one last testament to how amazing of a person she is. In the documentary, she talks about how she was very depressed after she survived this, just because she was assaulted, she was attacked, her whole person was stripped away from her. And she is depressed. And she recalls talking to herself in the bathtub one day when she's like, you decided to survive. And right now you're not surviving. Like, you're letting them have control over you. You're letting them eat you alive. So she decided once again to survive. And that's how she became a motivational speaker and started talking about it. Because she decided again to survive.
We love her. I'm bringing it where I don't even care. We stan her.
I'm bringing it back for Alison.
She's worth it. She's worth the shot that I'm going to have to take for it, probably. Just don't make me do a shot of anything gross.
Like that tequila at your Christmas party? That was really good tequila, though.
That's not even gross. I'll just drink that whole bottle.
Oh, everyone else...
Me and tequila, we're best friends.
Well, everyone else was like, tequila! And I was like, I'll drink it.
We already established that we're big tequila girlies, for sure. And that was something in Mexico. When I just went to Mexico for my birthday recently, the guy gave us tequila and like the lime and stuff. And then he was like, okay. And then he told us to do the shot. And they said, do the lime next. And then I didn't even touch the lime. He's like, do the lime. And I was like, no, I don't do the lime. And he's like,
Wait.
you're a true tequila boy then. I was like, I am.
Wait, you saying like do the lime is like that Shrek thing where it's like do the roar.
I love you, daddy. All right, before we get way too far off a tangent, I'm getting hungry. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, go get some food, kind of freshen up. Especially after that story. I need to just kind of digest that a little bit before we go into mine.
Yep.
And then we will be back. You know those really ad breaks that we do that we love a lot? We're going to have some of those.
Tired of the ads?
Tired of the ads? Subscribe to Spotify. Just kidding. Subscribe to us on Spotify.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
That's a whole thing we can do now.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure it out.
Okay, stop talking.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop talking. So we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back, and it'll be, as I like to say, my turn.
My turn.
And just like that, we're back.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm a little more digested. I'm ready to proceed. We have food on the way.
Nice.
I have coffee in me. That story is still heavy, but it's fine. We'll move past it. And it is now time.
I'm ready for the conspiracy.
I'm ready to tell you about it.
Okay.
This one, I've kind of heard about it before, but
Okay.
I never really went too much into it.
I'm novice.
Until today.
That was so corny.
Thank you.
I'm novice.
So, without further ado, let us time travel back real quick. Lettuce. Just like you got on your steak and cheese.
Yeah.
Lettuce, time travel back a little bit, a few years at this point already, crazy enough, and bring us back to 2020 when none other than, yes, the coronavirus pandemic began.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. A time when the whole world shut down, toilet paper could not be found anywhere, and a lot of people like myself logged on to TikTok as a joke to pass the time, just to be addicted to this day.
Love me some tiki-taki.
Oh, yeah. I go down a lot of TikTok holes.
Those streaming, swiping. What am I trying to say?
I don't
Whatever.
know.
Anyway, go ahead.
I was going to let you figure it out. So while we were trying to navigate our own new world and figure out what the hell we were supposed to be doing, or not doing for that matter, there were some other people out there that were preparing. Preparing for what, you may ask? Preparing for the New World Order.
What the fuck?
Today's conspiracy is going to be all about Project BlueBeam and the emergence of the secret one religion, one dictator new world that is looking to overtake the entire globe.
Is this like the Illuminati?
No, different.
Different?
Yeah. So it's essentially different. It's another secret society like the Illuminati, but whole new agenda. I mean, kind of the same idea, but
I love secret societies.
yeah, this is all about it, babe. So strap on in.
Strap in. Click, click. I'm strapped.
Strap in with the strap on. All right, back on track. So
Anyway.
the beginning rumblings of the New World Order can be traced back to one particular investigative journalist and conspiracy theorist, Serge Monast. Born in 1945, he was an active
someone with
member.
That last name.
What?
Monast. I went to high school with someone with that last name.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've never heard it before. I actually had to figure out how to pronounce it correctly because I was like, this is stressing me out.
Hi, Noah.
Monast. I mean, it seems... No shout outs.
I know, I'm sorry.
It seems very simple, but at one point I'm just like, what if I fuck it up? I'm trying to be respectful.
Okay, go ahead.
So, born in 1945, he's an active member of the Social Credit Party of Canada and also known for his journalism, poems, and essays. The early 1990s is where things started getting fun in regard to Serge and his work. So at this time, he had started writing on the theme of the New World Order and conspiracies hatched by secret societies. He was particularly influenced by the works of William Guy Carr. So,
is that his real name?
William Guy Carr.
Oh, like on his birth certificate.
Yeah.
That's his government name.
Yeah. Why?
That's sus.
Why?
His middle name is Guy, and his last name is Carr.
With 2 R's, so it's fancy.
Urgh.
Don't like that. So, a little bit of background on William. I won't say his whole name because apparently I have something against it.
Yeah, we already know how I feel about 3 names.
He was an English-born Canadian naval officer, author, and, just as you would guess, a conspiracy theorist who allegedly was accused of being an anti-Semite. Again, allegedly. Don't come for me. Even though I think you're dead at this point. Rest in peace. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what his character is going to be. He was known at first for his books on his military experience, but turned off the rails and started writing about a vast conspiracy that he allegedly discovered. William was described as, quote, the most influential source in creating the American Illuminati demonology, as according to the American folklorist Bill Ellis.
Hashtag certified demonology boy.
Oh, it's a callback to episode 1.
Yeah, it is.
Where it all started.
As soon as you said that, I was like, hold up. I was like, cut the cameras.
So, with a little more background on him, let's go back to our little boy, Serge. So, this is essentially the guy that Serge was kind of influenced by. This is conspiracy theorist, most influential source of the whole Illuminati demonology. So, you can kind of guess where Serge's mind is at.
Is Serge's full name?
Serge Monast, yeah.
Surge Protector. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay. You really needed to just chime in with Surge Protector? With his new writings on the New World Order and other conspiracies, Surge around this time founded the International Free Press Agency. This would essentially be the avenue in which he would publish his new works through, and actually gained a decent amount of traction and spotlight through it, enough so that he would be interviewed multiple times by UFOologist Richard Glenn, who had his own TV show. I, in parentheses, said, find a way to pronounce it. I didn't. And especially because it's a French name. But essentially, it's just kind of like existential experiment is essentially what it's going for here.
Before you start again, can I just say it's so funny that he had to create his own way to get his information out there, because all the press that existed was like, no.
Yeah, so he's like, I'll make my own. And then it got some views, especially by this UFOologist who actually had his own TV show. So since he had his own TV show, obviously, since he liked Serge's work, Serge went on the weekly program that started in about 1976 and covered various topics surrounding UFOs, world politics, secret societies, and various conspiracies. So, of course, this was Serge's greatest platform he could ever be on, because it's right up his alley. And that's exactly what he did. He would go on the program frequently and repeatedly warn his audience of the dangers of a world government, essentially the New World Order. So kind of fast forwarding a little bit through the rest of his life, namely because I'll be diving into the details of his 1994 publication, Project BlueBeam, in a little bit. So Serge would, up until 1996, publish a couple pieces like Project BlueBeam and another, more detailed piece, Les Protocoles de Toronto 6.6.6.
What language was that?
I was going for French, but I think I gave it like a Spanish switch. It was a whole thing.
Hopefully our coworker is listening to this and she can give you a correction on your pronunciation.
Yeah. I tried my best, I swear. So his works would essentially describe and talk about the New World Order, Masonic groups, and the plan of mind control to establish this New World Order.
Mind control.
So coming up to about 1995-1996, Serge was actually being hunted down by police due to his involvement in networks of prohibited information.
What does that mean?
So essentially, because he's going on these programs and just ranting about this New World Government, New World Order, and the police are just like, no. But you're not doing that.
If they're hunting after him, he must be saying something that's true. Otherwise, they're just like, oh, fuck this guy.
I mean, there probably were sprinkles of truth, and especially things he probably shouldn't have been talking about.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't the fact of, like, there's a New World Order and the government's going to take over the land. Like, he was probably spewing... It didn't really go into detail, but he was probably spewing just, like, outlandish shit that he just shouldn't be, and they're probably just like, you're done with this.
I'm just living for the drama. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, me too. Additionally, at the time, he was homeschooling his 2 children, but they, around this time,
fucking weirdos,
were taken away and made wards of the state in September of 96. That way they could receive a public education.
Never mind, I take it back.
Yeah, they were just trying to better the children, asshole.
Yeah, no, they're better now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was premature.
Take that back. I'm so mature. Serge's life would sadly see its end that following December at the age of 51 due to a heart attack in his home just one day after finally being arrested and spending a night in jail. This, of course, led his followers to conjure up a conspiracy and claim suspicion, even suggesting that he was assassinated by psychotronic weapons to keep him from continuing his investigation.
I was just going to make a joke that he was probably poisoned.
And within that joke, you're probably going to ask what psychotronic weapons are, right? Yeah, so what they are essentially a conspiracy theory in themselves that kind of revolves around, simply put, is an entity, usually like a government, making use of electromagnetic radiation, radar, and surveillance techniques to transmit sounds and thoughts into people's heads.
Is that where the tinfoil hats come from?
Essentially.
Okay.
Most likely.
That makes sense.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Yeah.
It's another form of mind control, if you will, that can affect people's bodies, harass people, and just make them go crazy. So the conspiracy theorists are just like, they got in his head and killed him. And
I love how they're saying that is what's making them crazy. Like, they're not already crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need an excuse.
Sure.
So, with a little bit of a backstory on the emergence of Project BlueBeam and where it all started, you may be asking at this point, well, what the fuck is it? What is Project BlueBeam?
I was thinking that, but I keep interrupting you, so that's why I didn't say anything.
You're probably just saying, like, shut up about Surgeon, tell us about your conspiracy.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
You'll find out about it right after this commercial break.
You're
no.
fucking douchebag. You're such a fucking asshole.
I felt really good about putting that in. So Project BlueBeam, what the fuck is it? I'm going to tell you right now. I just wanted to give you a little bit of Surge backstory because he was the mastermind of all of this. So who was he? What his life was like. That's why I did a really speed through of his life. And I didn't really... It was all over the place, but that's fine.
Yeah,
it was meant to be that way. We don't need to know too much about him.
No, he's crazy.
So, Project BlueBeam, what is it? You ask again for the 5th time.
Does it have to do with beams that are blue?
No. So...
Oh, that's very misleading.
As mentioned earlier, in 1994, Surge published a book titled Project BlueBeam. As a whole, this book detailed and warned of the New World Order's plan to establish a global government and goes on to dish out the steps in which this is going to happen. The main contributors in Surge's theory is NASA and the United Nations.
I love NASA.
And not for nothing, but these two are typical suspects in modern-day conspiracies.
Yeah, NASA. Have you seen the thing about NASA, how they were searching the ocean for a while, and then all of a sudden started looking into space, and everyone's like, the fuck did they find in the ocean that they're trying to get us off this planet?
No.
I saw that the other day.
Huh.
Maybe that'll be my next conspiracy.
I was going to say, I want to know more about that. Well...
Stop asking me for things.
I was about to say, I don't think I'm going to ask you for things anymore after that last story.
Yeah.
So
Learn your lesson.
I've learned. So his theory suggests these agencies are going to use sufficiently advanced technologies to trick the masses into believing this new coming. But of course, this would require everyone to, just casually believe and somehow not be fooled by this trickery. The whole world domination plan could be broken up into 4 easy steps. Don't try this at home, kids.
Ugh.
Step 1. First, the masterminds behind the New World Order will break down all archaeological knowledge of the world. This step will focus on faking earthquakes at precise locations around the globe, and during which the New World Order will also fake archaeological findings that will target negating beliefs of most of humankind and weaken humanity's faith in their current religion.
I have a question.
Most predominantly Christianity and Islam.
How do you fake an earthquake?
Easy, with the advanced technology.
But if... How do
Are you forgetting this is a conspiracy theory made up by a man?
Yeah. No. But I'm just saying, like, what is the thought process?
NASA, because they're about space, obviously
You're
will
giving me
have
crazy eyes. I know what you said. My question is, how do you fake an earthquake? Because the whole Earth...
with advanced technology.
Like, it shakes.
Yeah.
You can't just, there be no shake and then there was an earthquake.
Just put a bunch of vibrators on the ground. You'll figure it out.
Hashtag pride.
It's not June. We're just ahead of times. But yeah, it's all through this technology that NASA and the United Nations have made where they're able to fake. I think it's probably similar to how they say Bill Gates controls the weather.
I just saw that the other day.
Did you never read about that before?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Gates is a rich white man. He is. I don't care about him, so I never knew anything really about him. So.
Anyways,
sorry.
So they're gonna make these earthquakes. They're gonna do findings, and these findings of like fossils and things, quote unquote, are gonna just like try to negate everything humans know, especially about religion.
Fossils. Dun dun dun.
Rawr. So step 2. This is where things really start to get freaky deaky. So step 2 of this mastermind plan will see the use of that advanced technology we've talked so much about to craft a gigantic space show with lights and 3D holograms that will project all around the planet and take the shape of whichever deity is most prominent in the area, speaking all necessary languages.
Ooh.
At the end of this space show, all of the prophets projected will morph into one god, none other than the Antichrist.
None of them?
None other than.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
This will leave the general public with no way to explain these images, and thus leaving an opening for the New World Order to establish its one-for-all religion.
To be fair, that whole thing you just said, if that really did happen, people would lose their fucking minds. So, like, he has a point. I'm not saying he's right, but I'm saying he has a point.
I mean, I made a note here. Personally, this would be tough for me because...
Well, you're not religious.
Well, that's the thing. And I would just look at that and be like, oh, that's pretty nifty, and then probably just proceed with my day.
But it's like, a person is smart, but people are dumb. So, like, me and you aren't really religious, so, like, we would just look at that and be like, yo. But, like, religious people are probably like, holy shit, it's happening.
And that's kind of the one main, I guess, flaw of this plan that is pointed out so much is this is obviously targeting the religious people, and they'll see this and be like, holy hell. Huh. And then...
You have a lot of really corny jokes today.
That was just off the dome. I'm proud of myself.
You should put it back. Isn't that what you said to me earlier?
I don't remember. But then there's people like us, atheists, or people who just believe in something totally different. And they're going to look at that or see that and hear about that and be like, okay. And...
Well, it also depends on if they're gullible.
True. So it's just all... The main flaw of this is how are you going to convince everybody? Also, too,
I heard on a podcast the other day that... like a majority of people, if you have like a few people in a group and everybody knows that it's like something is right and then one person doesn't know, if they're all lying, that one person that doesn't know what's going on is gonna believe them because it's like majority rules.
Yeah, this is like there have been psychology experiments and things that go over just that. It's like where if everyone's doing something, you won't be the odd one out because you don't want to be, so you'll just kind of go with the flow, even if it's not the right thing.
I like to think that I wouldn't go with the flow simply just because I don't like people.
I think in this scenario, I wouldn't go with the flow because also, I'd be like, what is...
2, I live to spite. So, like, I would just not go through with it just because everybody else is going through with it.
Fair enough.
Hashtag petty.
The most fun part about this second step that I even touched upon yet...
Oh, I'm sorry.
...is that... No, it's fine. The United Nations, apparently, with this plan... will use Beethoven's Ode to Joy as the anthem for the introduction of the New Age one world religion.
Beethoven?
So imagine...
Wait, hold on.
Imagine you see all these projections in the Antichrist, everything's going into chaos, and then they just... you just hear Beethoven's Ode to Joy blasting.
I think they have Beethoven on Spotify. I'm about to play it. I want to hear what it sounds like.
You'll have to cut it out.
I will. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry. I had to hear what that sounded like. The beginning of it kind of sounds like, we're trudging through the bush.
On and on we push into the thick of it. But, no, I'm done. I'm not going to keep going. So...
I hope you guys are really enjoying this episode because we're all over the place.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's fine.
It's
our brand.
We're working through it. True. So, at this point... we are fake earthquakes, fossil findings, well, fake fossil findings,
Beethoven.
Space shows, Beethoven, whole nine. So step 3, the Antichrist himself will gain control over the masses through the use of two-way electronic thought control. With the world now spinning into chaos due to steps 1 and 2, the Antichrist will then bug into everyone's head, disrupt weather patterns, cause epidemics, and quite frankly, just make the chaos more chaotic. This is the perfect plan because once everything becomes too much, the masses will have no choice but to give their undying devotion to the Antichrist himself and the New World Order, the only ones that can now save everyone from their suffering. So for step 4, what is the last thing one must do to finally have control? Keep the people loyal and faithful. And how would one do that, you may ask?
Kool-Aid.
Well, easy. Besides the Kool-Aid, through the use of secret technology to produce supernatural manifestations. Duh.
Huh?
In a bid to keep people faithful to the New World Order, the Overlord will use...
Overlord, what the fuck?
The Overlords will use... Funny, because I have Overload in my notes, but I know it's Overlords.
Is it Ultra Lord? Is that from Jimmy Neutron? Sheen? Ultra Lord.
Sure, that makes you feel good. So the Ultra Lord will use their cool projection technologies to stimulate... Not stimulate. I got the vibrators on my mind, apparently.
Oh.
So,
gonna get X-rays.
The Overlords will use their cool projection technologies to simulate inexplicable happenings that will do nothing but obviously reinforce the world's faith in the new universal religion. Additionally, they will use this technology to simulate hostile alien invasions to, you guessed it, keep people in fear and make them believe that the New World Order is their only hope of protection.
I want to go with the aliens. Strap me in.
If I saw...
Beam me up, Scotty. Isn't that the name of your file?
It is. I'm so proud of you. So, yeah, funny. If I saw this, I would be really upset if they were hallucinations because I'd want them to take me. I would just be like, you know what? I'll go with you, aliens. You want to probe me out the butt? Sure.
I'm not going to do it.
Wouldn't be the first time. So, what happens after, you may ask? So, all the steps were taken and everything was successful. Now what? According to Serge's book, he detailed what would happen afterwards and what exactly it would look like to be initiated into the New World Order. So all people will be required to take an oath to Lucifer with a ritual initiation to enter the New World Order. Which, pause? I mean, I thought about selling my soul to the devil a long time ago anyways, so...
What?
Because to be in the New World Order, so...
No.
Oh.
Huh? You
What?
thought about doing that?
Yeah.
Like, and also, like, not for shits and gigs?
Yeah.
For what?
Money. Because, okay, this goes back years.
Yeah, you can't just bring this up and then not tell me
No,
about
this
it.
goes back... I may have Googled how to do it once. So...
You hear that, NSA?
When I first started getting into like conspiracy theories, and you heard all about the celebrities, and they sell their soul to the devil, and this is how they made all their money.
You wanted to be famous?
I wanted to be like that. And I was just like, how does one sell their soul to the devil? Like, what's the process? Because if it wasn't too much, I probably would have went through it. I'm not proud.
I just feel like that's a lot of work.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that now, but when I was younger and I was like, I want to be like the next Justin Bieber, I would sell my soul to the devil. I didn't.
That's so much work.
Oh my god, watch us get rich and famous off this, and then people are like, he did sell his soul.
Well, just know that I didn't, because that's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, I did it for her. So
I did it for me.
anyone that actually resists this initiation would be categorized as follows. They'd be Christian children will be kept for human sacrifice or sexual slaves. Prisoners to be used in medical experiments. Prisoners to be used as living organ banks. Healthy workers in slave labor camps. Uncertain prisoners in the International Re-Education Center. Then to repent on television and learn to glorify the New World Order. So just like beaten into submission. The International Execution Center, which it didn't say anything more than that, which I just assumed they're just like, you know what? You just die.
They just brought back the guillotine.
And then a seventh, as yet unknown seventh classification.
Unknown?
Unknown.
What the fuck
Totally
do
secret.
you mean unknown?
Yeah. So with all this explained, is
Where do
important.
they draw the line to make it unknown? They said all that, and they said, but the last is a secret. You'll find out.
So with all this explained, it is important to note that while Serge certainly came up with the name Project BlueBeam, some theorists speculated on the theories similar to Gene Roddenberry's unreleased film script Star Trek The God Thing, as well as the 1991 Star Trek The Next Generation episode Devil's Due.
You lost me.
So essentially...
No, it's Star Trek. I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't watch Star Trek either.
Okay.
So you have all this stuff about Project BlueBeam and the New World Order and how it's going to happen. But realistically, it's kind of already just based on these Star Trek things, which is fine. It doesn't mean it's not true. So Project BlueBeam is a hallmark of a conspiracy theory as it plays on people's paranoia and uses the scare of unknown, alleged advanced technology that most people don't understand. While COVID was a very real pandemic that happened in 2020, Project BlueBeam was blasted back into the spotlight as this is the type of event that we see in Step 3, leading some to believe this is all but underway and approaching the end. While believing conspiracy theories can be fun, I just advise you to do your research. Just make sure to look at everything in a factual light to determine if it is true or not. And who knows, if you do good enough research and show promise, maybe the Antichrist and the New World Order themselves will let you in on their upcoming council.
Stupid.
Is it though? Now, one thing that I didn't put in here in my notes. So did you ever hear this? I might want to do a whole episode down the line about it because there's just so much to it. But did you hear about all the mumblings about the Denver airport?
Don't talk about the airport because I want to talk about the airport.
Okay, that's fine. But the one thing I will point out that I didn't put in my notes, but I have in my noggin, is there's actually a plaque on one of the runways that credit, the people who built the airport, and it's one of them is the New World Order, industries. Like the New World Order is credited on the plaque.
Yeah.
And so people are like, what? And if you look it up, they don't exist, but the steel and all that other companies exist, but the New World Order part doesn't exist anywhere.
So I wonder if someone just did that for shits and gigs. If they were just let's just stir the pot and just put this up here, and then people are going to talk about it, and then more people are going to come, and then they're tourism rates would go up and things like that.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it past. It sounds...
And you would do it too for a check.
And I would do it too for a check, you're right.
And I was an employee.
Yeah.
And I was going to get employee of the month. And that's not period.
So anyways, that is my story of the New World Order and how it will come to be and how we will all eventually be slaves to the Antichrist himself.
I was joking a lot during that, but one of the things I love so much about conspiracy theories is that. It's just how crazy they can be, because some of those things I was like, that kind of could, I guess, there's a train of thought. I can see where they're going with it, but also at the same time, it's dog.
I mean, this one isn't necessarily so... obviously, there's parts of it that's very far-fetched, but realistically, it's really not, because when you think kind of down to the nitty-gritty of it, when the masses are kind of in scramble and don't know what to do, they're going to look for someone to figure that out for them. So in a case like this, if the whole world is burning down and everything's in chaos and there's no, for instance, Joe Byron isn't doing anything, or he's nowhere to be found and he's not leading the country, and suddenly there's an Antichrist in the sky that's follow me and you'll live. A lot of people are probably going to be like, all right.
Hey, yo.
Take me out to dinner.
Bing bong.
So if it's just that kind of thing where if everything's in so much chaos and there's this one overhead thing that's I can help.
I can see where you're going with that. And are
you kind of picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, no, I see where you're going. I'm just saying me as an individual, I'm just so suspicious about everything. And as soon as they were I can help, I'd be squinty eye. The fuck do you mean you can help? So
in a situation like that, obviously it's going to be hard to visualize and figure it out, but what do you think you would do? If the whole world is in chaos, Joe Byron isn't anywhere to be found, no one's leading anything, are you just going to...
I know that you know for a fact what I'm going to do.
No, I know.
And I can't say what I'm going to do.
But would...
That's what I would do. No. I don't have any other plans. That's what I would do. That's it. I have no want or need to live out of my comfort zone. And I don't care if that sounds like a first world problem. Living in a post-apocalyptic anything, first of all, I do not want to live without indoor plumbing because I'm not pooping in a hole. I don't care.
So you don't go camping?
I don't go camping. I'm not pooping in a hole. I'm not afraid to admit it. I can't live without Wi-Fi. If I can't scroll on my phone without my phone loading right away, I'm going to get angry. So...
No more TikTok, babe.
In that situation, I'm just going to say I'm clocking out. That's it.
That's
clocking
fair.
Myself out.
Because then I guess we're thinking about...
handing in my punch card. That's it.
That's fair. Because
And
I might
don't
do
care.
as much as like living through something like a zombie apocalypse. I think would be fun. And this
You think it'd be fun? None of that sounds fun.
Speaking of zombie apocalypse, that's actually the basis of where I got this idea from. Was because I was scrolling on TikTok, and
Tiki-talkie.
there was one that mentioned zombies in Project BlueBeam, and I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, get ready, like Project BlueBeam, and I was like, what are you talking about? And that's when I looked it all up, and I was like, this is actually interesting. So
It is very interesting, but if it came about, I would not struggle to be involved in any of that. I don't want to rebuild society. I don't want to be involved in what society is going into. No.
That sounds like a lot.
And it's crazy because, like, in every kind of, like, post-apocalyptic anything, like, they make getting to the end such a big deal. Why? Why do they do that?
Well, it's because, you beat the odds.
I don't care.
All right, fair enough.
That's my personal philosophy.
Can't go against that.
And I feel like everybody who knows me already knows that. So this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody.
No, fair enough. So
I'll be rooting for you on the other side, though.
Thank you.
And when you do
be
dumb
my little
shit.
guardian angel.
Yeah, when you do dumb shit, I'll laugh at you.
I hope you would.
Like when you...
Because I'd laugh at me, too.
When you, like, have to poop in a hole and shit like that, I'm gonna be like, look at this stupid
I thought you were going to go back to me shitting my pants.
Anyways. But I was like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Anyways, with that fun story, that is all we have for you today.
We are done. Episode 3 is a wrap. I hope you like that accent.
I don't. So, with that, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at isntthatoddpod. And most importantly, find our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Music, or really anywhere you get your podcasts.
And don't forget, if you have any stories or anything you want to send to us about any of your personal paranormal true crime stories, you can email us at isntthatoddpod@gmail.com. And in the future, we'll be doing some listener episodes, so you'll be able to get some of that.
And we do have a Google Doc in our link tree that you can find in our Instagram bio that you can actually submit any story ideas, whether it's true crime, conspiracy, or paranormal that you want us to talk about that we haven't talked about yet. Not necessarily saying yours, just, ones that are out there that you want us to kind of touch upon in this podcast. Give us some ideas. And maybe you'll just hear it on a future episode.
Just maybe.
Just maybe.
That's it. Bye. No, don't have that video ending.
Huh?
Don't have that video.
So as always, I want to say this really quick, especially because the first 2 episodes I think went super great.
A lot better than we expected.
The support and outpouring of love we've gotten for it has just been absolutely blowing our minds. And I'm not just saying that to be cliche. Mm-hmm. We quite literally thought we'd have maybe 5 people listen, and that's because we would hold them down and make them listen to it. But it's been a lot more than that. And I remember on episode 1, we were both just texting back and forth, just like, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. So just know you guys did that to us, and we're so grateful for that, and we love you so much, and we can't wait to keep making this content for you. So as long as you keep loving it, we'll keep doing it. Even
if you don't love it, we're probably still going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Either way, you're stuck with it, so you're forced to like it.
Yep.
But regardless, just the biggest thank you to you for just listening, especially if you have gone through episode 1 and 2 and now you're here on episode 3, or if you're just finding us now and you're listening here. We love you all the same. Thank you so much for everything, and we will see you in the future episodes.
We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.